Well, hey there, YouTube. How's everybody doing today? Ready for the weekend? Going to have a little bit of fun? Going to watch the Super Bowl? There's two kinds of people when it comes Super Bowl time. There's the people that watch the Super Bowl, and then there's the people that make a big point to tell you they're not going to watch the Super Bowl instead of just not watching the Super Bowl. But anyhow, today I've been walking a lot this week, a lot this week, listening to podcasts, consuming good stuff, and been listening to a lot more Andrew Huberman content, and been listening to a lot of Rich Roll lately too. And sometimes I'll just there's some podcasts out there I've listened to 2 or 3 times because it just really sinks the information in. And sometimes when I'm walking, because I like to see my environment. I'm looking around, so I'm not absorbing all of it. So I'll listen to these things over and over. But today I was, and I've read the book and I've listened to talks by him before, but Dan Buettner, who wrote The Blue Zones, that's not the exact title, it's got more in there than The Blue Zones, but he wrote The Blue Zones. And I was listening to him again. Now, like I said, I read the book, I've done videos on this in the past, but just got me back into him, and then I listened to Rich Roll and him, and then I moved on to I forgot who it was. He was a plant-based doctor, but anyhow, the Blue Zones are just basically these places that he and his team found when they were doing research about 20 years ago on the longest lived people in the world and sustainability. And once again, I'm going to jump right in here before you're at it. There's always somebody that thinks there's some conspiracy theory about something. Just check out the information. The last time I think I talked about the Blue Zone, somebody was like, oh, but they've been proved, blah, 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 blah. The only reason the Blue Zones have shrunk a lot is because of the garbage that we sent to them from the United States. One of the Blue Zones is Okinawa, Japan. Okinawa has shrunk a lot. You know why Okinawa has shrunk a lot? Because they got the first fast food restaurant right after World War II. A&W. Yeah, they don't only make root beer. So we've imported our stuff, and we're trying to get as much of our poison out into the world as possible. But these 5 Blue Zones are Ikaria, which is a little island in Greece, Sardinia, Costa Rica, which the Nicoya region, this one particular region, Okinawa, and interestingly enough, in Loma Linda, California, the Seventh-day Adventists kind of fall into this. Now, some of the lessons from there, and I've got my notes, so I'm going to be looking down. I'm never trying to pretend I'm not using notes in these things. But now some of the main points of this, and this is going to tie in some of the stuff that I'm talking about, that I'm listening to with Andrew Huberman. This is just kind of me making the connection. But move naturally. The people that live in these zones, they live places where they can walk. And walking is part of their lifestyle. I was telling my roommate the other day, since I got back to the States, it's odd for me to decide I'm going to go for a walk. When I lived in Costa Rica, especially when I lived in that little beach town, Jaco, I walked because that's how I got places. Now, I had a bike, and when I had shopping or other things, sometimes I'd ride my bike, but I could walk everywhere. And also, too, that I think with the movement, and a lot of times you'll find that these people, they take stairs, they take opportunities. Now, something we can do, I notice, is not what most people do in my area. I mean, a lot of us don't live in the areas where we have that opportunity. So, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the supermarket, park at the very far end of the parking lot, walk. When you get into a building, take the stairs. And I think, and I've been breaking down my walks a lot this week, because I remember also hearing that it's not so much about, just one time a day going for this long walk, but then to kind of imitate our natural flow of walking during and throughout the day. So get that natural movement in. And a lot of them have gardens too, so they're getting movement. They're walking around in their yards, they're getting down, they're moving in the hard. They're not going to the gym, they're not practicing yoga or Pilates, they're just getting natural movement outside. Here's one I didn't remember from before: know your purpose, which is basically putting our skills into action in ways that add to the meaning of our life and to the life of others. Something I don't have. One thing I really realized as I was listening to this, that a lot of these things that, regardless of how I'm eating, I have a lot of bad habits. That's why I've never tried to pass myself off as any kind of an expert or guru or anything. I'm a weak man. I'm a flawed person. I'm almost 59 years old, and I'm just trying to redeem myself a little bit from a early past. But I don't really have that. I don't really have that, and I don't have a number of the other things either. Now this one, here's one also too. I don't know exactly how to say that. They downshift. That was his word, not mine. In other words, they kind of take a little time for themselves to slow down. And Okinawans, it can come in a number of different ways. Everybody's got their stress relief. It's basically stress relief. Okinawans remember their ancestors. Ikarians take a nap. Adventists pray. Whatever works for you, my meditation, that works for me, my breath work. But there should be something else, there should be even some more going on there. The 80% rule, I find this real interesting, and I think this is something I'm going to incorporate into my eating, the eating part of it, is the Okinawans especially eat till they're about 80% full. They don't just like eat and eat and eat till they're completely full. That one, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure the 80% rule, but there's just something about, I think it keeps you from going overboard, because a lot of times we're probably actually full when we get to more like 80%, or we're not really able to judge. So if we stop at 80%, we don't overdo it. They're all mostly plant-based. I don't think any of them are like 100% plant-based, but just by their natural reaction, their natural actions and their way of life, they're eating a plant-based diet, and they're eating whole food plant-based. And a lot of them are eating stuff that they're growing right out of their ground, which is the most organic you can get. They're not using sprays or anything. So the plant-based, there's definitely the statistics there for it. The right tribe. And the right tribe means social circles that support healthy habits. Social isolation, that's probably something that's been in my head even more and more the last couple or 3 weeks. Just realizing like how I've kind of isolated myself, shut myself off, and don't really have any, and that is very unhealthy. I'm seeing so many things now about talking about how social isolation, lack of interaction, being around other people, and I'm working on remedying that. But yeah, just need to find that tribe, and that leads into something else I'm going to jump into there. The fact that I live so isolated, I've got some other really bad habits too, and this goes back to Dr. Huberman talking about the circadian rhythms. Since I have horrible nighttime habits. I sleep with the TV on. I go to sleep with the TV on. I'm on my screen way too much. But a lot of that is kind of hard to give up in this current situation, because otherwise, I don't know people. I got my roommate. We get along real well. He's gone a lot of the time, but so I have to entertain myself in some way. And also with the going to sleep with the TV on and things like that. The light, basically not consuming light after a certain time at night, and then not getting it, and then resetting and making sure we're getting light first thing in the morning, just a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything drastic. Just go outside and look towards the bright light and get a little bit of light in your eyes. But yeah, that is something that I'm definitely working on as well. So it's not all the food. It's like, if we're eating perfectly, let's say you, me, whoever has got the perfect way of eating, if we're not like I'm finding out that when we're out of our rhythm, our circadian rhythms, that we're like, it's affecting our hormones, it's affecting our sleep. When we don't get our sleep, our like bad sleep or not enough restful sleep leads to illness. It weakens our immune system. So it's just like it all goes hand in hand. It all goes hand in hand. And another thing about the people, they found they're very family oriented in the blue zones, and they put family first. Now that's something that I don't really have a lot of control over. I don't have brothers and sisters. Both of my parents are deceased. I have a lot of cousins, but it's kind of like my dad had a lot of kids in there were 11 kids in my dad's family, so I always have gotten along with my cousins. It's just that they're spread out everywhere, and a lot of them I haven't even seen since I was a kid. So it's not like when they are family, but we're not like within each other's proximity. So I'm going to try my best to kind of just make my own little makeshift family, hopefully, over the next several years. But just think about those things and maybe go and listen to Rich Roll's podcast. It was somewhere, I don't remember exactly the date, but if you just go to wherever you get podcasts, go to the podcast. Or probably you can go to his YouTube channel and just search Rich Roll, Dan Buettner, Buettner, and listen to some other stuff by him, because there's some really good stuff. He makes a lot of good points. Maybe you don't take all the advice, but maybe a little bit in there you'll find that can help you. So anyhow, just I enjoyed listening to those this morning and just kind of felt like sharing. So hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Have a great weekend, and maybe I'll see you this weekend. If not, we'll see you Monday. Peace.